Hello, everyone. It's Sunday once again. Sorry, it's a bit late. We're about 12 minutes late. It's 12 minutes past two in the afternoon here in the UK. It's 9:12 in the evening in Manila. And hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. And it's happy Mothering Sunday here in the UK. It's not in the Philippines or anything, but here in the UK. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and all who take on the role of being mothers and stuff. So, yeah, hope you're also like having a great time and your families are looking after you and giving you a day off today. All the mothers in the UK. Right. So, I'm really happy about this week's guest. 'Cause I can't believe that he's actually here. So, because he's actually one of my most favorite drummers ever because he's just so exciting to watch. So right, so I'll bring him in now. Please welcome my dear friends, Keith O'Neill of Cast. Yay!
Hi everyone.
Hello, hello, Keith. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Lovely day in Liverpool today, which I'm very happy about. Got me running this morning, so all good.
Yeah, it's nice here in Stockport as well. I mean, we've been having some really lovely weather, and it's incredible. After that, it feels like a really long winter
Yeah,
and very cold.
yeah, it's been really nice the last couple of weeks. So catch the rays while you can.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, it's still t-shirt weather, which is really, really good.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Um, yeah, I'm really excited because Cast were actually my first gig of 2022.
Wow. Okay.
It was, yeah, because every year I do this like 100 gigs a year challenge. And I've started doing it in 2017, but of course with COVID, so it's all like stopped. But this year, I'm hoping to do another 100 gigs or more. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and my first one, that was cast was so good at the Ritz in Manchester.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you were still so like wearing a mask when you came out. It's like, I think people are still. I mean, there's people. I mean, musicians are still worried about sort of like catching the
Yeah. Well,
virus.
we still got to wear them backstage and in any of the public areas. So and I think it's a good thing really because it just you make sure and backstage can get a little bit crowded sometimes, but
Yeah,
we were very lucky because we managed to get through every day without coming down with a single case. So um, that's really good. But we were also really cautious and careful. So I
yeah,
think that's the way you've got to do it really. And we were testing every couple of days. I think that's the way forward now. For it's just what you've got to do. And
yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
right. Yeah,
all,
yeah,
all our lovely crew they were testing every 2 days. We were all testing every 2 days, and we were trying to keep our distance from any like support bands or anything like that. So
yeah. But
yeah,
we were still so like okay with so like fans waiting outside though, because I remember it was so like people were saying, "Oh, they're not gonna come out. They're not gonna meet fans because of the COVID situation." But when you all came out, I mean, you're still okay. It was so like
we
talking
still
to us.
we still got to get to the bus somehow. So there's no point in that, especially in Manchester Ritz, because you've got to walk right through the front of the venue to get to the bus.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's true. Um, I have to say thank you so much to Pete Wilkinson for the link up because it was him who actually sort of like gave me your contact details. So I was
My
like, so
good
thank
friend,
you so much, Pete.
my good friend and partner in crime from in the past.
Yeah, yeah. Um, right. So yesterday, we saw like most people in the UK saw like woke up to such sad news of Taylor Hawkins. So
Yeah,
like
terrible news.
yeah, it's really really terrible, especially for the drumming world and stuff. So you told me earlier that you actually got to meet him.
Yeah, it was. I think I was working with Johnny Marr at the time, and there was a festival in Germany, and Foo Fighters were playing as well. And I got to meet all of the Foo Fighters backstage at this festival, and he was so lovely. And
Yeah.
Taylor was really, really lovely, and he seemed to be one of these guys who'd actually make time to, try and have a chat with everyone, So yeah, terrible news, and obviously thoughts to his family at the moment.
Yeah.
Awful time.
Yeah, you can tell that he was really well loved because, especially on social media, like on Facebook, every single post that I've seen is all terrible news about Taylor Hawkins and stuff.
Yes.
So yeah,
Awful
R.I.P. R.I.P. Taylor Hawkins. But before we actually do the proper Ask the Drummer questions, I just want to say hello to my Baba, my daughter Adele. She's joining us, so she's watching. So hello, Adele. That's really good. And Trevor Palmer, he said afternoon, Anne and Keith. So he's
hello, Trevor.
Us. Yeah. So welcome to Ask the Drummer. Episode 33 is all about you, Keith O'Neill. And and we're gonna start from I asked you earlier the place you were born, and it's in a place in North Liverpool called Litherland.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unknown place in North Liverpool.
North Liverpool. Well, yeah. I've only recently got to know of that place because of Mick Head. Apparently.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Mick grew up in Bootle, which is literally about probably 2 miles at the most from Litherland, But but I moved out of home. I moved out of the family home when I was about 16, and then moved up to Liverpool 8. I was living in Liverpool 8 for quite a while in the Topsteth area, and I sort of pretty much stayed up here in South Liverpool after that. There's much more trees in South Liverpool. That's why I like it.
Well, when you were growing up in Litherland, what was it like for you then? Especially the music. I mean, I know you could easily go to the city centre.
Yeah. I mean, there was do you know what? There was mainly I got into it through school bands and stuff like that. There was a few bands in school. There was a band called The Text. And there's another couple of bands knocking around in school, and some of them used to practice in the drama hall. I went to St Wilfrid's High School in Litherland, which is not there anymore. They knocked it down and built a housing estate, or they're just in the process of. And I just sort of, but I was quite a late starter on drums. I used to play trumpet before I played drums. And I got in with a few little sort of concert bands and stuff like that. And I took like exams and things like, like your theory tests and your practice test on trumpet. And I came out with a grade 6, I think. That was, and then I think I'd met someone in my class who was playing guitar, and I don't know how really I got into it, but and there's another couple of lads, guitar and bass and stuff like that. And then I sort of got in with this crowd because I was into my music as well. I was listening to things like the Chameleons from Manchester and the Sound. So they were sort of, and Joy Division as well. They were sort of big influences at that time. And I just got in with this crowd of people, and they were like, "Look, we need a drummer." And I was like, "I've never played drums in my life, but I'll give it a go." So I must have been about 17 or 18 at that point. And then, but it's weird. It just seemed to, playing drums just seemed
natural.
Yeah, it just seemed to fall into place, And I didn't have a drum kit at the time. So then another friend of mine, his brother was selling one over in Crosby. And I remember going over there to see, and it was an old Premier Broadway drum kit. And it was lovely. It was a little 3-piece kit.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know where my hands were going or anything. You know, I was like, I don't know what to do here. I knew I had to do something with the hi-hat and the kick drum, you know. But I think and then so I took it home. This drum kit, I literally carried it on my back over like
That's
fields.
pretty
I
nice.
remember having and one of the other lads in the band, he was carrying the snare drum. Of course, I had to carry the kick drum, but I think it was only a 20-inch, so that made it, yeah, it wasn't too bad. So I wrote this thing together and like basically carried it on my back across
Yeah.
the fields in Littleland and over the bridge to the canal and carried it home. And it started there, really. I set it up in my bedroom, put loads of towels over it, and then I just started to learn how to play it. So I play it every day. My dad wasn't too happy at it.
It was too loud or something.
Yeah, it was just really loud, you know. So, and eventually he kicked me into the garage, where his car would normally go, and it was even louder in there. And then the neighbours started complaining, so I was just like, right, I'm getting it back up to my bedroom. Well, my bedroom, you know, we only had a little house, and my bedroom was like 6 foot by 8 foot. So I had my bed and this drum kit in, which I'd have to put down every time I finished playing it.
Well, there's a brilliant website called angelfire.com where I actually found quite a lot of sort of like really nice information about you, like really really good. And it says
God.
there that before before you took up the drums, you actually played like all sorts of things like trumpet, bass guitar, clarinet, and flute.
Yeah, I dabbled in everything really. In fact, I think at one point I was singing in a band and playing bass guitar as well.
Oh, right.
But I love bass guitar. I've still got me. I always have it on hand because I'll play it in front of the telly when I've, you know, overnight. I was sitting here last night just playing stuff on it, you know. Yeah, I really like bass guitar.
Pete Wilkinson plays bass.
He's on a much greater level than I am. You know?
So do you sometimes sort of like swap and he plays the drums and you
play? Yeah. Oh, we've had a lot of fun in rehearsals doing things like that, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm glad
all the lads will have a go. I've got 3 boys and 2 of them play, and I mean they're better than me. You know, they're amazing, and they've never had any lessons. They're just self-taught.
Yeah.
So I've got Kieran, who's my he's my 19-year-old, and I've got twin boys as well. And one of the twins, Flynn, he plays, and he's brilliant. They've all been in little bands and things like that. So
yeah.
Oh,
well, good luck to them. I hope they'll be so like become the biggest cast.
Yeah. And they all play bass as well. It's funny because they love playing bass as well. So it's whenever they come over, they're you can't get them off the bass guitar or the PlayStation.
Well, I'm really glad that you actually chose to be a drummer because I just love drummers. And this website actually says that you first ever drumming gig. I mean, the first time you played drums in front of an audience. So apparently, it's like there were 30 people there. Was it St. George of England High School?
Yeah, that's right. And it was with so the lads who I'd met in school, Alex Barr and Michael Marsh. We got together in a 3-piece band called the Empty Hours, and we were doing sort of Joy Division covers. So we do like Transmission, you know. And then we started throwing our own little songs into there as well. So yeah, and that was the very first show. I can just barely remember it. You know, every time I pass St. George's School, I'm like, oh my God, there's the hall. You know, that's right. Yeah, that was my first ever.
But
I must have been about 18 or 19 then, I think.
Yeah, that's what it says.
I was quite late, you know.
Yeah. So were you already called the Empty Hours then?
Or... Yeah.
Because I tried to Googling the empty hours, it gave me a different sort of like band, because the one that I actually found is a Canadian band, and I was sort of like thinking, no, this is not the.
No, no, it wasn't. And well, I think we only ever had one release, and then it was on a compilation album called Desperation, which was a Liverpool album.
All right.
And this was, I think it was set up by a guy called Ken Kelly. And he'd set this label up, and we sort of got involved with, it was an arts charity called Sons and Daughters of Liverpool. And we got involved in that closely with a guy called George McCain, who weirdly enough, about 4 years ago, a new family moved into the house opposite where I live, and it was George, and I hadn't seen him for years, and now George used to do so much for the community, you know. He was heavily involved in the arts, and Sons and Daughters of Liverpool, or SADOL, as it was known, was it used to do so much good work for young kids who, you know, who'd sort of come from the wrong part of town, or, you know, had got into trouble and stuff like that. And it was a really great, you know, being around it at that time. I think they were involved in like loads of the Red Wedge stuff as well, with Paul Weller, Bragg, and, you know, we used to get sort of funding that way as well. And I think Pete Townsend was involved at early stages, you know. But yeah, it was it was a bit of an eye opener. St George's Hall. I got to King George's School, whatever it was. But I just remember being really, really nervous about it, you know.
But so after the what's it called again, empty hours, was the next band that you were in, was it called the Australians?
It was, yeah, with Tommy Scott. Yeah.
That's just amazing. I was actually when I was actually sort of like Googling your name, like Keith O'Neill, and it says you were in a band with Tommy Scott.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. It was, honestly, it was really, really lots of fun, that band. We had a really good time. And we used to do quite a lot of recording in the Trade Union Centre in Liverpool. From what I remember, it was Mick Moss who used to be the studio engineer there. And again, Pete Townsend had given the Trade Union Centre his tannoy monitor speakers that Mick had in the studio. And it was a great sounding little studio. Loads of Liverpool bands used to go and record there. And the Empty Hours had been in there a couple of times. But, you know, so I think the Australians had done some demos there, and we done some in Benson Street, which is another old studio, which used to be run by, what's his name? Ken Nelson, who went on to be producer of the first Coldplay album. And he used to be the in-house studio. He used to be the in-house studio engineer there. And funnily enough, there was another studio which I never found out about until many years later, called the Sound House in Litherland, and I never knew it was there. It was just in this little, around this corner, this quiet shopping row of shop. And it was a fantastic studio. They had like a big AMEC Angela desk, and you know, a big Atari 24-track multi-track tape machine, loads of high-end stuff. But unfortunately,
is it still there now, or is it gone?
No, well, I've walked past it a couple of times. It looks like a building yard now, so I think it's moved out. But the fella who ran it, Sean, he was an arsehole. So, you know, it's like I'd heard this story about that he got loads of young lads to dig a swimming pool in his garden, whether it was true or not, but he didn't pay them. And he was, but his studio was brilliant, you know.
Well, sometimes when you do festivals and stuff, you go and Space are also in there as well. So,
yeah.
So what's it like? What's it like, sort of like seeing Tommy Scott and then there's you there? And do you talk about the Australians? Or?
Yeah, we do. We because at the time it was a different. So it was AD. I think it was a guy called AD on guitar. Jill who's Tommy's girlfriend, long-term partner, she was playing bass, and Jill was really, Jill was dead cool, really cool
Yeah.
bass player, like really influenced by Tom Tom Club, Talking Heads, Tina Weymouth.
Oh, right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, but and the music was, it was quite wacky. So I think we had a song called Sadie. We had a song called "The Girl Who Loved Her Man Enough to Kill Him." Um,
But that's it's so like very much like Tommy Scott, isn't
yeah, yeah. So
it?
it was quite out there, and it was quite psychedelic as well. It was. But I mean, we were really into the Small Faces and like the Who at that time as well.
Yeah.
But we gigged quite a lot. And then the Australians became another band called the Substitutes. After that, which I continued for a while
Oh, right.
with Tommy, but it was, yeah, Jill was still playing bass for a while, and then Jill, for whatever reason, I think Jill backed out after a while, and then there was another bass player, and then another mate of mine, Tim Smith, he was
Yeah.
he came in to play guitar, but yeah, it was really, really drunken, druggy, and,
Well, before I ask you the next band that you were in, Trevor Palmer said that he went to a couple of Red Wedge gigs in London, and they were
right,
like
okay.
excellent shows. So, right. So after the Australians, is it right that there's another one called the Windmills? So, or are
That's
there
right.
any other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tim, who played guitar in the Substitutes, and he was one of my best friends, we moved over to a band called the Windmills, who was it was Howie Payne
Yeah.
from the Strands.
The stands. Yeah. Yeah.
Strands, yeah. So we moved over to that. In the meantime, I think Tommy had continued, and then Tommy went on to form Space shortly after that. But then we'd started up with the Windmills, and that was, we used to rehearse in this in a place that was above a recycling plant, which was just full of like bottles of booze, and it absolutely stunk to high heaven. But when we first started, we had this cool rehearsal room on Seal Street, which was right next to, there's a printing place there now, but next to the printing place on Seal Street, there's you'll see like a big, like a Georgian door, and it basically, we used to rehearse on the it was like someone's flat. There was a kitchen in it and everything, but it was really like luxury, lovely place to rehearse, especially after we'd come from the recycling plant. With rats running over me fucking feet,
Well, according to this angelfire.com website, when you were in the Windmills, that's actually where John Power saw you play.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's a quote there from John Power saying that, and I quote this: "You're incredible to watch and more exciting than the rest of the group put together." So,
yeah. Well, I don't know. I just play how I played it. I suppose. I mean, I was heavily influenced by Keith Moon and John Heisman of Colosseum and Mitch Mitchell, Ginger Baker. So there was a lot of influences there. But I just thought, I mean, the way I play, it's probably just because I get so into it, and I like the thought of getting lots of exercise out of it as well,
Well, I've got to say that I totally agree with John Power, because whenever I go to a cast gig and I see you play, especially when you do Fine Time, the way you play Fine Time, there's that bit there where you stand up. It actually makes me so. I mean, I'm already standing up, but it actually makes me sort of like tiptoe and sort of like go with you as well when you stand up and play it, and then you put your hand up like this as well. Yeah, you're just absolutely amazing. But I don't know if this is true, but again, from that website, I've read that before you met John Power, you actually met his dog first. His
I
dog.
did, yeah.
Is
Ted.
that?
I
I
met
thought
Ted
this was really
first.
fun.
I met Ted first before I met John.
Yeah.
That's right.
How
Because
did that happen?
I think John was trying to catch up with me, and at that time I was living off Lark Lane, and John was trying to catch up with me at some point, I think. And of course, I knew who John was with the Lars and everything. And I did finally get to bump into him on Lark Lane one day, and that's when he approached me and he said, "Look, I'm getting this band together. You know, the Lars had finished at this point. Well, I think they were still going, but John wasn't sure what he wanted to do with it or whether he wanted to carry on. And that's when I bumped into John on Lark Lane, that's when it really started. When he was like, "Well, do you fancy playing?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I've got to go to Greece. I'm going to Greece on holiday. I'll let you know," because I was just about to go off to Greece. I said, "I'll let you know. Give us a call when I get back." You know. And
But were you still with the Windmills
I was
at the
still with the
time?
Windmills, yeah. So John sort of poached me, you know.
So did you just tell them? Did you just tell Howie and the guys that you're leaving and you're
Yeah,
going to
basically. Yeah. I mean, it didn't go down too well initially, but you know, I was like, "Look, I've got to go and do this," you know.
Yeah.
But I was still working at the time as well, so you know, it was crazy because I was going to work in a bloody suit, and you know, as soon as 5 o'clock hit, I'd be going to play drums for someone, you know. So usually in the same suit.
Well, it actually says, this website also says it's from the age of 16 you've been working, so like as a nurse, and apparently you're also like a rep selling surveying equipment.
That's right, yeah.
All sorts of things.
So when I left school at 16. I think I stayed on to do some O levels, and that was just a complete waste of time because all I did was mess around, you know, as you do. And then I ended up going to Hugh Bird College for about a week as well, because me folks wanted me to retake the O levels, and I just wasn't interested. You know, I was like, music's my thing. I'm really not interested. So anyway, yeah. So that's how I sort of got in with John, really. You know, and I was working all the way through. I was working in a home for the terminally ill, called Jospis in Thornton, and I was doing that for years. I was doing that voluntary, really, you know. So, but it was a good job that I thought that, you know, you're putting something back into the community here, and I think it actually put me in good stead for everything to come from after that. I mean, it was really quite a difficult job, but yeah, and then I was working for a lawyer's firm for a bit. Well, actually done that for 2 years, and this is all while I've got my band career simmering away in the background, you know.
Yeah. But well, Cass also had several sort of like lineup changes, but then when John Power actually had you and Skin and Pete Wilkinson, then that's
right. Well, Skin wasn't in the band when I first joined it, so there was me, John, and Pete, and we were trying to find a guitarist. And it was Pete who knew Skin, but Skin had gone off to Penrith to learn how to be a canoe instructor, and we couldn't get hold of him, you know. And it was I think John one day, I think Peter had bumped into him for some reason. He'd come back to Liverpool for something, to pick something up, and Peter just bumped into him in town saying, like, we've been trying to get hold of you. And Skin had left he was in a band called Pyramid Dream, and he'd left Pyramid Dream to go and do this canoe course, I think. And so he, you know, he was a little bit unsure, Skin, about whether he wanted to, you know, get back into it and get back into music and stuff, you know. Yeah, although it never left him, he was just he wasn't sure whether he wanted to be in a band again. So he took some we took some encouragement. Let's put it that way. And then, but anyway, and then it's
Yeah. I mean,
we got together. We weren't signed or anything at that point. You know, we basically we were just sort of running it ourselves with our manager Rob Swerdlow.
yeah.
You know, so yeah, and it was, you know, I'd do a full day's work and I'd go over to Crash and I'd set all the gear up in Crash Studios and we'd rehearse till 10, get drunk, smoke our heads off, you know, and then we do it all again the next day. And we must have done that for about a year before we actually got signed, you know.
Right. That was like 1995, and
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah.
Been.
When you released.
Anything past 2010, I can't remember. 2010.
Well, it's just so good that you're back together. It's all like back together again. Out of the four of you, I mean, Skin's the one that actually looks so different.
Yeah, he
like
does. With his big beard. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I actually went to see Cass for the first time. It was like years ago, and I was all like thinking, is he a new member of the band or so?
No, when you look back at the old pictures, at old photographs or press cuttings or stuff like that, you know, it's like, what happened? You know. Well, I do have to say, you know, I'm very fond of all the band members, but Skin's beard is a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing, you know, and it smells lovely. I need to point that out.
All right. Well, maybe next time I see you, so like in June when I go to Middlewich Folk and Road Festival, I'll see if I can smell.
Yeah, have a little sniff.
Yeah, but I've actually got a question from Paul McGuire.
Oh, no way! Hi, Magsy.
Paul McGuire does this. He said, "How do you?" No, I don't know if there's like a joke in this one, but he said, "How do you get your hair so straight?" So I don't know what it's all about, but you know.
Well, Paul McGuire and Pete Wilco used to call me Bowled. You know, I went through a couple of haircut stages where it did look like a bowl had been put on the top of my head, and I just, you know, want to just cut around it. So that's where I know that's where Magsy's coming from. I don't know if you're listening. Thanks for that.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm actually trying to get him on the show, but hopefully.
Well, you can ask him how he gets his hair so fucking curly.
He's still got this full head of hair, which is unbelievable.
It looks like a microphone. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, before you actually talk about the return of Cast, there were other bands that you were involved in. There's one called Keela.
Keela, yeah, that's right. God, I almost forgot about Keela, and I shouldn't do.
Yeah, it's a Manchester band, is that right?
Yeah, it was. And so it was me and Peter who were involved in that, because Peter was involved initially, and then he asked me to step in because originally the drummer was, what's his name? Who's the old Echo and the Bunnymen drummer? I don't know whether he's actually still with us anymore, but he was a great session drummer. Oh, it'll come back to me anyway. You can Google it. And he played with Robert Plant as well, but he was playing drums in Keela first, and then he had to go off and do a big artist or something. So it was Jason. Jason was the songwriter and singer, and he had sort of quite a big record deal. But anyway, yeah, I think we got together and done some rehearsals, and it worked out really well. And so then me and Peter played on quite a few live shows. We've done a little tour, that's for sure. You know.
Yeah. this was when Cass was sort of like split up, or
Yeah,
not
that's
doing
right.
anything. Yeah.
That was when Castor decided to take a break, which turned out a longer break because it turned into 10 years of 10 years of a break, you know. But yeah, so Peter was playing bass for a while, and then Peter went off to do the Bunnymen. It's so incestuous, and then Martin Campbell came in, and Martin plays bass with us now and again when Jay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
Martin's a lot of fun as well. A lot of respect for him.
Yeah, I remember seeing Martin when you did the One Day Shine On in Birmingham.
That's right, yeah.
I remember I was like, oh my God, I know him, but he's not. Because I know he's from Lightning Seeds, but
Well, it's great because Martin, you know, we all get on really well, and we get up to no good together, me and Martin, as usual.
So, and then also, apart from Keela, there's Pete Wilkinson's band,
Aviator. Yeah. Yeah, I love doing this stuff with Pete on Aviator. It's so easy. I mean, literally, we'll go into a friend Paul Hemmings's studio, and it's literally we'll throw all the tracks down in an afternoon. You know, it's just so easy to do. Peter will sit in front. Sometimes I haven't even heard any of the tracks. Yeah. So Peter will sit in front of me, and he'll go ride. So they'll play the song through into my headphones, and he'll go onto the ride now, onto that, fill, hi-hat, floor tom. And it because I've worked with Peter for so long in cast, it's like second nature, you know, and it's like I know exactly what he wants, when he wants it. And most of the time I can pick up on that. But I absolutely love doing Aviator. It's really good fun. And Peter's got some brilliant songs as well, you know.
Yeah, Skin also plays in Aviator, or he played it.
Yeah, he's played on two of the albums.
There's the single called "The Gift" that
that's right.
I've got a 7-inch copy of. So it's like, I love that song.
And I know it's not like a little circle we all hang around together and stuff, and we just keep bringing musicians in, and then see you later or come back in.
Yeah, but Aviator is actually I don't know if it's like not just the band, but like your company is called Aviation.
Yeah,
Tour?
Aviator Tour Production. Called.
Yeah. So is that also involved? Have you got Pete Wilkinson involved in that as well?
No. I asked Peter if I could use the name because I really liked it, and so he said. So when I set up my production company in 2012, I just said to Peter, "Do you mind if I use the name?" And he was like, "No, go ahead with it," you know.
All right, because there's also Aviate Records, which is also part of Aviator, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, but it's not. It's a separate company to my company. That's Peter's label. I mean, my company's involved with tour and production management now. You know, so yeah. But Peter, I speak to Pete very regularly, and he still floors me with some of the texts that he sends me. You know, he's very, very, very funny, Peter. He really is. He's very astute and funny.
And very kind, because when I sent him a message asking if I could ask you, he said, yeah, I'll ask you about that. And then he replied to me straight away saying that, yes, he'll do it. It was all like, oh my God. I was actually scared of approaching him, but you know.
Well, he's another one with big hair as well. You know, it must be something to do with people with big hair.
But anyway, so you mentioned your company, which is Aviator Tour and production. So can I ask you, what exactly is it that you do, and do you do that for cast as well, or is it just a
no? I did start doing that. So basically, when cast took the break, I started working for other artists as a tour manager and a production manager, and basically it got so busy. I was looking at his CV the other day. It's ridiculous. But I got so busy. I was working with I worked for Delta. Do you remember, I mean, Delta Sonic Records, home of the Zootons and the Dead
Yeah.
Sixties and the Coral.
Yeah.
So I was working with them for 3 or 4 years, I think, and I was looking after the Dead Sixties. I was looking after all the financing and the tour budgeting and stuff like that. And but basically, I had to sort of retrain, learn on my feet, you know, and go, okay, this is how this is done. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I've worked with quite a few interesting artists now.
Yeah.
Over
Well,
the
the Dead 60s, like Matt McManaman, he's
Yeah.
still doing his solo thing now.
He
So
is,
are
yeah.
you
You know what? I actually saw a post from Matt because I came off social media for about, you know, for about 2 years just before
Yeah.
lockdown. It just gets too much, and you just end up looking at your phone all the time. You know, it's like I'd rather spend time with the kids than looking at this shit. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my god! And so it just got too much for me. So I was like, right, I'm just delete everything, and I'm trying to live a fucking life that's not on this device that's, you know, on attached to my palm all the time. But I've sort of started, you know, getting back into it again. I do a bit of the Instagram stuff for Cast. I've just found TikTok. I've just discovered TikTok, and it's taken my life away already. It's unbelievable. Just like, okay, you can spend hours there swiping like overnight. It's like, what the fuck? Where's that 3 hours just gone?
But do you post on TikTok though? Do you do it?
No, I don't. I tend not to post on stuff. I'll have a look at stuff, but I tend not to post on stuff because I used to get into trouble because I'd get pissed up and start posting shit, and then I'd look at it the next day and go, "Oh, what the fuck have I said?" You know? Nothing ever nasty or anything like that. Just, oh, you dickhead, you know.
But anyways, going back to Matt McManaman. So, are you still in touch? Are you still in touch with him?
I'm not in touch with Matt, but Matt had posted on. I saw him posted because he was doing Shine apparently at the same time as us. And he posted an interview that he'd done saying that I'm looking forward to meeting up with Keith and Peter, because Matt used to live in Peter's old house with Peter. Oh my god, and that was unbelievable at the time because you don't even want to know, honestly. Yeah, it was crazy, absolutely crazy, because they both enjoy a little tipple now and again, or they did. Yeah, it was a crazy house, but
well, yeah.
And I'm still in touch. I see Charlie now and again. Brian, who works for Spotify now, he's the drummer. I still stay in touch with Brian as well. But we had such a good time on the road. Honestly, I mean, because they were managed by Q Prime Management, who also look after Metallica and Red Hot Chili Peppers, big management firm over in New York. And they just have us. I mean, literally, we would tour relentlessly. So we do 6 weeks. I'd be driving this 45-foot RV all across America. I think we've done that about 4 or 5 times. Do you know what? It was such a good life experience. We really, really enjoyed it. Got on really well. I think there was one day where we didn't get on just because we were all so tired, you know.
Well, you were talking about having a drink and things like that, because I remember I have to say that Cast were actually I like waiting for bands after gigs, and so like meet them and so like get my record signed and have a photo with them, as you know, and I've got to say that Cast were hold the records, so like the longest time I've waited.
Because normally it's because we're so fucking knackered when we come off stage. You know, I mean, literally, I cannot move for 45 minutes. You know, so I'm just like, oh my god, you know.
Well, someone actually said to me, they're all drinking, so you will wait a long time because they're all drinking up there.
We do like a bit of a drink, you know. Although saying that, John doesn't drink anymore. It's mainly me and Skin, but I run to make up for it. I've ran for 10 years. So I was out doing I've done 8 miles this morning.
Oh, yeah.
So and it's like that's my sort of, that's how I have to sort of even it out a little bit, And I don't drink at home, so I only drink on the road when we're out.
But I have to say though that you are really really good with the fans. Because it's like you come out and then you sort of like talk to them, and you're always very, very friendly.
Fans invest in the band, and it's like it's the minimum, it's the least thing you can do, And I love coming out and talking to fans. I really do. Everyone's got an interesting story.
Yeah,
and I like to talk.
Yeah. Well, Cass is definitely one of the hardest working bands in the UK, I think, because you're always like everywhere. At the moment, you haven't got your own tour, but you're doing lots of festivals in the summer.
Yeah, we're doing quite a few festivals. I think we've got about 10 in so far, and then we're probably going to knuckle down and get another album out. I think. I know John's been working on some great songs. He's got. I mean, I've heard the demos and it's fantastic, but I can't give too much away of it at the moment. So
but we'll just sort of like we'll wait for it, because you've got your Facebook page anyway, and you've got your Instagram and sort of Twitter. So I'm sure once it's ready, then we'll get to hear about that one. But I've told you earlier that the one festival that I'm really looking forward to seeing Cass is the Middlewich Folk and Boat Festival on the 18th of June.
Right.
Richard Bourne, he said he remembers seeing Cass at the Phoenix Festival soon after you had formed.
Yeah.
And he said that the tent was absolutely rammed.
Yeah, I remember that show. And Phoenix Festival used to be a brilliant festival. It was on the site of an old airfield. And we used to love playing Phoenix. We did it a few times actually. But I've seen some of the old lineups, and I was like, God, I don't remember that at all. I don't remember we were on the same day as that band or this band. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's some really serious lapses in my memory about a lot of the past stuff, whether that's down to drink or drugs or whatever. It's like there are some big gaps there. And so, and sometimes Peter will call me and go, "Do you remember doing that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't remember that." There's a few things we do remember.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter was always my partner. Was my partner in crime. It would always be, if there was any trouble, it would always be me and Pete. Beyond during those early days. I mean, but even now, I mean, I think me and John managed to get banned for life from Jersey Live Festival. That was about 2 years ago. In fact, I think we all got banned. We had to be accompanied off site by security.
Why?
just drunken japes. It was, kids and beer.
Oh, right. Well, Travis said that he'll be seeing Cass in Skipton at Gateways Festival in July.
Okay. Well, I'll see you there, Donna.
He said, feel free to pop in for a cuppa. That's what he said.
Where's that? In Skipton?
Skipton.
Like
Gateways
Skipton.
Festival.
Yeah, I like Skipton. Very nice.
Trevor, I think Trevor's from Skipton, so he's gonna go and see you there.
Well, hopefully he'll make some scones.
Well, Richard also said that I don't know, because he said that you're playing Middlewich with the Boo Radleys, because I've also saw that they're actually supporting you, the Boo Radleys, and he said you're playing. Yeah, the Boo Radleys is support.
Okay.
Do you know?
No.
No.
To be honest, I don't look at the lineups until I get there, and then I'll see if there's any other bands I want to see, and but basically, we just turn up and start getting on the white.
Yeah. Well, well, they are supporting you. The Boo Radleys are actually supporting you in Middlewich, so
Right. Okay.
that's really good. And he said that he's really, I think he's excited that you're still playing all these years later,
Fantastic.
and
Thank you very much.
also with the Boo Radleys. So,
Yeah. I mean,
so
it doesn't get easier. You've got to, as I say, you've got to. I mean, I've just got to keep my fitness levels up because otherwise your stamina just goes. So, especially when you're doing like 90-minute sets, you've got to you've really. I mean, I'll have to train. I'll sometimes have to train for a month up to the lead up for that. And I've found that as I'm, because I'm 53 now, I'm found that as you're getting older, you're getting a bit more stiffer, or and there's things you can't do. But there's also, I'm finding there's things that, like, with, especially with, I always do a lot of rudiment work. I've got a lovely Buddy Rich book, and I go through all the rudiments that So I'll practice. I'll
yeah, yeah,
practice probably for maybe an hour before the show as well, just on a silicon pad, which gives no bounce at all. So I'll
yeah,
normally do a little bit of practice on that. Skin and Jay are always practicing. They've always got a guitar in their hands, backstage, always, all day. That's basically their thing as well. So
yeah. But being it's sort of like a tour manager and stuff, do you find that there's like a conflict in schedule that you're doing cast, but then you
yeah,
have
yeah. Sometimes, yeah, there's a conflict sometimes, but that we can always work that out. Somehow we'll always work that out. And we've had, Steve Pilgrim will step in
oh
sometimes
yeah,
and
yeah,
play drums if I can't do it. Or Nick Minsky will come in and step in and do some shows if I
yeah,
can't do it. But it's still, even with Skin and John, it's still the band. It's just might just be a different drummer on the day.
yeah, yeah,
But but yet, if I've got a busy touring schedule, then it's quite tricky because a lot of the bands I work with sort of want some commitment as well. So that can be quite tricky to sort out. And it's always, January for me, I'm just like pulling my hair out, looking at the diary, going, "Oh fuck, I've got like 16 clashes there. I can't. I've got to juggle stuff around, put someone on this, put someone on that." But you can always get around it. The
yeah,
sun,
yeah.
you know what? The sun has just come streaming through my flat window here. It's absolutely gorgeous today.
It's so good. Well, this question, I mean, again, I found this on that angelfire.com website. It's got nothing to do with drums, but is it true that you can sing like Pavarotti?
I've been known to, if I've had you. Let's put it that way.
That is just so amazing. I mean, I just love to like things like that. And so, um, yeah,
Much,
I've
much to
mentioned,
the other boys' amusement, I think, after that.
but you don't so like do it and
No.
make it so like a part of the cast routine
Oh,
as well. Like
definitely not. Definitely
give you
not.
the microphone.
No, yeah, I'll do some BVs. I'll do some backing vocals on albums and stuff like that. In fact, I've always been involved with doing backing vocals. In fact, I remember John saying to me about this new album. He was like, "I want you to do some singing on it as well." So I'm like, "Well, let's just see how that goes." And I
Oh,
just,
good.
I just don't like the idea of having one of those gooseneck microphones when I'm playing live. It's
Yeah,
like it's quite tricky to sing and play drums. But I
and
mean,
play
because I sing my drum parts anyway. I sing what I play. So on all the recordings, when you can hear the backing tracks, the isolated backing tracks, you can hear me going or whatever.
See, that's another thing that I really like about when you play the drums, because your face, there's so much like emotion and you don't just sort of like play and stuff. You can actually sort of like feel it.
Well, you've got to enjoy
Um,
it.
but yeah, oh yeah, it's all like, oh my god, it's so good. I've actually got clips, which is just focusing on you. And I remember so like my friend behind me when we were at Shine On, he so like took a photo of me when I was focusing on your drumming. It was like, and he said to me that you're a drum stalker. So I was like, well, it's
Well,
just that
no,
it was so good.
normally I look like a cross between I don't know, a dying fish or when I'm playing drums and a an octopus on speed. I don't know.
No, you're absolutely amazing, and also you twirl, which
I
is
do. Yeah, I do
I
twirl now
love
and
when
again.
you twirl.
That's that's a good old Chris Sharrock trick as well. I mean, Chris is much better at it than I am. I mean, he's brilliant with it. I mean, he'll throw them up and catch them. I tend, 9 out of 10 times I'll catch them, um, and then the occasional time Skin will trip over one. You know.
Oh, right. Which I'm gonna ask you next. Have you ever had this or like any drumming disasters? Like this,
Oh God,
did
there's so
you kill it
many. Yeah,
yourself or?
all the time, all the time. It's just whether you've caught them or not. Normally, it's normally. Luckily enough, it's normally in rehearsals. But um, I remember doing well, it's not really a disaster, but it was a terrible time for me when we done a gig in Dublin. This was just before we decided to take a break. We done a gig in Dublin, and I'd gone to the pub in the afternoon, and I'd ate a dozen oysters, and then I proceeded. About an hour later, I felt ridiculously sick. And it turns out I had food poisoning from a bad oyster. And so my drum tech, Phil Murphy, who was at the time, who's now a brilliant stage manager. Hey?
Oh no, sorry. I was sort of like thinking Phil Murphy would sort of like make heads the Red
No,
Elastic. No, it's
no,
a
he was
different Phil Murphy. Yeah.
he was my drum tech at the time. He's a brilliant stage manager now. He does
Right. Okay.
I still see Phil. He's great. But Phil had to put a bucket at the side of the hi-hat stand, and I had to. All I was doing throughout the whole show was throwing up into this bucket. It was really bad. Yeah, I got through the show, but I'd just gone green. It was horrible.
Oh
Horrible.
my God.
Still won't put more oysters though. I love them.
So, have you not had any oysters again?
No, I have. Yeah, it's like a total idiot. Straight back the next day to the same, not to the same pub, but a different pub, and got a load of oysters. When you're in Ireland,
Yeah. Well, do you have any drumming heroes? You mentioned Keith Moon. That he's
John Heisman, who was in a band called Colosseum. I mean, Buddy Rich is, he's just unbelievable player.
Yeah.
I
remember the first time I've heard of Buddy Rich, again, it was Paul McGuire who told me about Buddy Rich.
Yeah.
Because I posted something on Facebook about, what's his name? Bobby Gillespie. Because Bobby Gillespie is drummer of, he was the drummer of the Jesus and Mary Chain. And I remember sort of like Paul McGuire saying, well, you've got to sort of like go for Buddy Rich and not really.
Yeah. Well, I've worked with Primal Scream quite a lot. I've tour managed them, and it's great. I got talking to Bobby. I got on great with Bobby, and yeah, I was talking to him about. But he was pretty much, when Bobby was in the band, he was pretty much along the lines of like Velvet Underground type of stuff, But yeah, so drummers like Buddy Rich and Ginger Baker. All the sort of classic drummers, really.
Yeah.
Keith Moon, of course. He was probably the first guy I was looking into. But then I like a lot of contemporary drummers as well, like new drummers and stuff. I love Jack from Foles, the way he plays. I think Foles are a great band. Old Jay, the way his drumming's amazing. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but his drumming's really good. But yeah, so I mean, I'd taken everything. I saw, especially from a young age, I was taking in sort of everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
John Lever from the Chameleons. He was a
Oh
great.
yeah.
He was
Yeah.
such an influence. Actually, he was probably one of my biggest influences. You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, when I was sort of like looking at cast, I didn't know this until last night that you were actually being compared to the Who.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
sort of like with
We've had,
Keith
yeah,
Urban being.
we've had a few things like that come up, a few comparisons like
Yeah.
that, I think.
And that's great. I mean, it's sort of like Keith Moon being one of your sort of like influences, and then being compared to the Who as well. I thought it was just really good.
That's
I
pretty humbling.
Yeah, I forgot to sort of like ask because I saw like the first thing that I've saw from this angelfire.com. Also, the first record that you bought, um, I think it was because it says there that it was your mum who used to buy all the records for you, but then the
Yeah.
first one that you bought was M's.
Pop music.
So I was like, yeah, pop
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. Which electronic. It was electronic sort of band. Weirdly enough,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the first. I mean, my dad always had like Wings albums knocking around the house. Ram. I mean, Ram's one of my favourite Wings albums ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a fantastic album. So that he'd put that on, but he had a lot of crooning type of stuff like Al Jolson and a lot of big band stuff as well. He'd listen to, and then he'd have like sort of Matt Monro and things like that. Who were also sort of big band drummers.
Yeah, yeah. When you do your sort of like when you do your sort of like touring or managing the tours and stuff, and
Yeah.
being a drummer yourself, do you sometimes sort of like give the drummers some advice, or do you just let them? Do you just let them do what they?
I tend to keep I keep everything under wraps. Really, I like say nothing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just like, no, you get on with that. I'll get on with
Yeah.
today.
You just manage them. But do you have any advice to sort of like aspiring drummers out there? So.
Yeah, just listen, rudiments all the way. Rudiments, start on rudiments, finish on rudiments, warm up on rudiments. That's my advice anyway. Get yourself a silicon pad. I think I've got one here. Let me show you. So one of these things you want, because it's a moon gel. It's got a moon gel base on it, so it doesn't give you any bounce at all. You have to work really hard on it. Get the Buddy Rich Rudiments book, even if you don't read music, right? Which I don't read drum music. I can read rudiments from my days as a bloody trumpet player. But I'm getting better with drum music now. I've learned quite a little, but I'll never sit down and read a score. Do you know what I mean? I mean, who the fuck wants to do that?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are drummers. Respect to the drummers out there who want to do that, but it's not my thing. So yeah, I do get one of them. Get a good rudiment book, or to get an app. I've got one called Drum Dictionary, I think. And it'll you can play along to that. But really, honestly, you wouldn't believe what, like, even just half an hour playing rudiments, and then you get on a kit after playing on this silicon pad, and you're like, fucking hell, I didn't even know I could do that,
Yeah, yeah. Well, those like rudiments and paradiddles, the first time I've heard of those words are from Joey Musker.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, he's actually the one who told me about those paradiddles and those like rudiments. I was like, I had to Google it because I had no idea what they were. I just love drummers, but not the technical things about drums and drumming. But
well, Skin's got 3 boys, and they're all brilliant musicians as well, really good musicians, and 2 of them play drums. And I'm always on to them about rudiments. Yeah. Do your rudiments. I know you think it's boring, but it's actually not. Once you get into it, you'll get lost in it. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
But and if you know what, there's so many good. there's so much good technology out there at the moment, especially with the electronic kits. I've just got a little K1 electronic kit that Mike Skinner out the street, he gave me that. And I've just got one set up round there, which I'll fiddle about on now and again, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But the new Lecky kits, which you've got the mesh pads, they're really good as well. So if you want to play in the house, get one of them. Don't have your mum and dad fucking having a go at you all the time because you're
They're
playing.
not as loud. They're not as loud as so like the.
No, they don't. They hardly make any noise at all. You might hear the kick drum if if someone's living below you, but that's the best way to
Yeah.
do it, probably.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. Do you want to sort of like just say anything else about the tours and or the sort of like the festivals and
Well,
stuff?
no,
Or
well, just hopefully, I'd like, we're really grateful for people who still listen to the band or still follow us or come to the shows. It really does mean a lot for four old men.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Keith. I'm really thankful that you said yes to Ask the Drummer
You're
because
very welcome.
I wasn't sure whether you could do it or not. But thank you, and thank you to Pete Wilkinson as well.
Yeah, thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, right. Well, that's it. I'm so glad because we've done sort of like an hour and everything. So, enjoy the rest of your Sunday and the
Will do.
lovely
And
weather.
Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers.
Yeah, and have you thinking of sort of like going out in the sun and enjoying?
Well, yeah, I went for the long run this morning, so I'm probably a little bit red faced already. So yeah, I've got one of my sons is coming around this afternoon, so we're just gonna hang out for a bit, probably play a bit of PlayStation or something.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much. And
You're very welcome.
yeah, see you in June.
Will
See you
do.
in the Witch in
Thanks, Anne.
June.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, Keith. Bye. Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It was so it's so nice to sort of like see him because when I go to gigs and I wait for them afterwards, I just haven't. I don't know what to say to them. I just sort of like see them and just say, "Can I have a photograph or can I have can you sign this for me, please?" And that's it. I go. So, as the drummer has actually given me a brilliant opportunity or a brilliant sort of like like it's an opportunity to speak to all these drummers, to all these amazing drummers. So yeah, thank you again to Keith O'Neill for this week's episode, and please do keep an eye out for next week's Ask the Drummer. And like I always say, love music, love life, and love drummers because they're just so amazing. And see you all again next week. Bye. Bye.